Hey guys, here today with a new video. I'm going to show you how to remove the main shaft in your brushless motor with nothing more than just basic tools. Usually the guys would be using a arbor press or even a drill press or rig up something in a vise to push it out. But today we're just going to use just regular tools you should have laying around. We're going to use a couple of jeweler's flathead screwdrivers, a hammer, obviously your torque wrenches, and then a socket set. I'll show you why here in a second. So normally I would use the snap ring pliers and a punch that I have for doing this, but because most people won't have those items around their house, I'm going to show you how you can do this at home. Alright, so first of all, this brand of motor has a snap ring. Sometimes they're just a C-clip, but this one's a snap ring. So what I do is I put a mounting bolt. This is what was used on the helicopter to mount it to the plate. So I just thread it in there and I line up the snap ring there. And then just with a couple of jeweler's flathead screwdrivers, the point of this bolt is now you've created a pivot point to come off of. So what I do is I put it down on the bottom of the can of the motor here, and I put the flathead inside there nice and firmly, and I just pivot it on that bolt. Sometimes it takes a try or two to get this off there, but it's expected when we're not using the proper tools for the job. So just like that, 2 tries, I had it off. It might take you a few more tries, but I've done this a few times, so I'm used to it. So you want to put that off to the side. And then usually there's brass washers. This one only has one in there, a shim. And then there'll be kind of like a spring washer, so to speak, on there. So it's usually a wavy washer, and that just creates a bit of tension on there. So you just want to put those off to the side so you remember how they go in there after. I'm going to take this mounting bolt back out of there. Let's put that off to the side. So now we're okay to take the can off now. So pull it apart. You just want to be careful because the magnets are very strong on here. You don't want your fingers to get pinched in there. Then you'll have a blood blister for a while, and we know we don't like those. So just put that off to the side after you check it, obviously. You want to check the bearings, make sure they're still good. I would recommend changing them if you're going this far, changing the shaft, order the bearings at the same time. But I recently did this, so these bearings are still good. It's just my shaft that's damaged, so I'm going to have to remove that. So the next step will be grab your torque wrench, and usually there's 2 set screws. One set screw hits on a flat spot on the shaft, and one just sits on the shaft itself. So you'll want to remove it completely out, because you want to get the residue off of that. Like old Loctite, or maybe some oil got in there or whatnot. So it's good practice, always clean them, put it off to the side. And we want to find the next one right there. Same thing, take it completely out, because I want to put some nice fresh Loctite on there after, because we don't want this coming out after on us. So there we go, you can see got a bit of dirt off of these. They're nice and clean now. Put that off to the side. So now this shaft's ready to come out. On the Scorpion motors, they usually have a button head bolt on there, so just remove that. Some of the motors don't have them, but some do. Just remove it. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to grab a socket that's big enough to go over this, because we don't want to damage that, not sure what they would call that, like a bell or something like that. So we want it to sit on the flat of the can here. So we don't want to damage this at all. These are expensive, as everyone knows. So you just grab a socket that you know will fit over there. It sits flat on there. You can see that sits flat on there. But the problem is the shaft is so long, so then we'll have to double up the socket. So usually what I do, I just find 2 that are about the same size, like that, so that the shaft has a way to come through. So on a 550 size motor or smaller, usually just 1 socket you get away with, or if you have an impact socket, they're a lot longer usually, the deep sockets, so you can do that. So just to make it easier on myself, I use some electrical tape, just so I'm not fumbling around holding 3 or 4 pieces at a time now. So same thing, put it on there so it's on the flat on there, so you're not damaging anything. We just don't want to damage anything at all on this motor. So usually I would use a punch now, But because I'm showing you how to do this with stuff you should have laying around, you can just use like an Allen bit or a Robertson bit or anything you have kicking around that's solid. So we'll just use this just for demonstration purposes, just to show you that this is possibly, you can get this done just around the house. So now we're just going to put this on concrete. The thing is with the concrete, if you're on your bench at home, workbench, you'll just be hitting it, it'll just keep bouncing, it'll just keep bouncing, it'll keep bouncing. Even on your floor, your house, there's always underlay underneath your hardwood floors or flooring like that. So it'll bounce, it'll bounce. You'll be hitting, swinging forever. So I strongly suggest go outside, go in your garage, find a sidewalk, patio stone, or something similar, just so that you can get a good whack at this. Tile floor would work, but your wife or your girlfriend or mom will kill you if you wreck her tile, so you'll crack it. So now we just want to give this a couple of good little whacks. It's almost out. Just one more hit here probably. There you go. You can tell it's getting loose. So there you go. You can hear the shaft fell out. So all I used was just a couple of sockets. You can see, created no damage in there. Still looks good. We got the main shaft or the motor shaft out. So this is where you would throw this out, because this one's damaged. But just for demonstration, I'm just going to put this one back in. So now you got to find where these two flat spots are. So on the new shaft, you'll find those two flat spots, and you'll find where the two set screws were. You can see them in there. So what I do is I just line them up. Oop, the magnet's grabbing it. What I do is you just go like that, press it in there, wiggle it in as much as you can just so it's started. And now I just grab a piece of wood and put it on there. It's this hardened steel shaft, so it's going to take a lot of abuse for you to mushroom this or damage it. But you just want to, just not crazy, just like the weight of the hammer. You just want to give it a few whacks. One more. Maybe one more. Alright, there we go. It's nice and flush. So you can see we saved the button head screws by using the piece of wood. So now we didn't mushroom them over. So that's the reason of the wood. Because if you would have done that on the concrete, you would have mushroomed those over and you would have never got this cooling fan off of here. So there we go. Only thing left is put these set screws back in. A little Loctite on there. So one of these goes on the flat of the shaft, and the next one it just goes onto the shaft itself. Usually I just wipe it. Don't want too much Loctite in there. So, oops, that's one I already put one into. Alright, now you got those two nice and tight, Loctite on them. Next step is to put it back together. So just be careful when you do this. Like I said earlier, it's got really strong magnets, so it's going to snap together. So just make sure your fingers are apart like this. Just guide it in there, and it'll just go back together. Just like that. So now, put your snap ring washer back on there. Put your shims back on there. Usually there's one or many. This one only had one on there. And now your snap ring. I push it on there. Usually I would use my snap ring pliers now, push that on there, but because we're showing you with just regular tools, just put it on there, press down on it with your screw bit or your hex bit. There you go, it's on there. So, doesn't get any easier than that, guys. Hopefully you feel more confident. You can change your own shaft instead of giving it to a friend or shipping it off or just dealing with a really long shaft or whatnot. So, thanks for watching.